Rocky Mountain Sports Report.
Last night, what a comeback affair it was for Colorado as they come back from the third largest deficit in franchise history. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Loughlin. Thanks for joining us. The Mets had a comfortable, at least seemingly comfortable, 7-0 lead going into the 7th inning. But Colorado comes back and eventually wins the game by a score of 9-8. As for just the 4th time in Mets history, they failed to hold a lead of 7 runs. And the winning run came home on a wild pitch. Jaime Cerda on the mound, Todd Helton at third. And as he scoots down the line with the head-first slide, all the Mets could do is look on forlornly as Colorado wins in improbable fashion. But the Mets will try to put that behind them and come up with a victory today. For more on that upstairs, we go to you, Ted Robinson.
All right, Matt, thanks very much. Along with Fran Healy, Ralph Kiner is supposed to be with us today. Ralph is a bit under the weather. Well, Fran, this is a place, as the Mets learned firsthand last night, pitchers come to dread, hitters come to love. The Mets hitters have gotten healthy here, particularly Mike Piazza.
Well, Mike Piazza put on a show last night with the line ball, and the key for Mike Piazza last night, he went back to the future. He hit the ball the other way, first time up, hit a long home run over the right field fence, and there was more to come. He pulled that pitch. So last night, Mike Piazza with 2 home runs, 1 to right field, 1 to left field. He put some good swings on that baseball, and he crushes the ball here in Colorado. Look at those numbers.
32nd career multi-home run game, and Piazza 5 for 8 in the first 2 games here in Denver. The Mets will hope for more of the same today against lefty Darren Oliver. Well, a uniform change has not changed one thing. Preston Wilson still hits the Mets.
He's a better player now with Colorado. He's making contact, and he hit the ball the other way. Home run over the right field fence. So Preston Wilson is smoking the ball, leading the National League in RBIs, and he got a big blow late in the ball game last night. What an exhibition by Mike Piazza and by Preston Wilson offensively here at Coors Field last night.
His 20th career home run against the Mets last night in just 61 games. He barely reached 60 RBIs for the season last year in Florida, 41 already here. It's definitely a reborn Preston Wilson in Denver. Well, it's a beautiful day and a businessman special at Coors Field. First pitch comes up on MSG.
So here we go in Denver, ready to play. Third and final game of the series, the deciding game. And Robbie Alomar leading off for the Mets, facing 32-year-old left-hander Darren Oliver. And right away, it's 2-0 to Alomar.
Darren Oliver was a non-roster invitee to spring training. He spent a lot of time in the American League with Texas, pitched some with St. Louis, back to Texas. Now he finds himself, after pitching a little bit in Boston, he finds himself in Colorado. That would be the last off.
Had to be the last stop on the pitching train.
Oh, boy.
Well, Robbie Alomar has done so well in the leadoff spot from the left side. There's a good sign for the Mets as he gets off on the right side, followed by Gonzalez. Then Piazza, Floyd, and Wigginton. Tony Clark 6. Shinjo today in center. McEwing's 5th straight started short. And Jay So.
And talk about the southpaw, Darren Oliver. 6'2", 220 pounds. Now we'll take on Raul Gonzalez.
Gonzalez playing right field against left-hand pitching, so he's going to get some chances to play here the next couple of days. The Mets facing left-handers 3 of the next 4 games. I'll see Kirk Reeder tomorrow in San Francisco and Damian Moss on Saturday. And that's a foul. Gonzalez bunting that ball off himself, and it's 0-2.
We'll take a look at the defense, how it sets up for the Rockies. You see Helton, Butler, Hernandez, and Steins in the infield. We'll focus on Chris Steins today defensively. You got Peyton, Wilson, and Walker left to right in the outfield. Big Charles Johnson behind the plate. There's Chris Steins.
A nice pickup for the Rockies. Todd Zeile, of course, played third base for them last year. Now Gonzalez fouls one away to stay in there. 68-degree day. Absolutely spectacular weather in Denver. Very little breeze, and it's about as perfect a day for baseball as you could ever ask for. And if you'd like to listen to The Spanish language commentary today is available by hitting the SAP button on your remote. Gonzalez chops one. Steins will get one out. And not two. Gonzalez beats it out. No double play.
Well, they get the force at second base, and it was real close at first base. Steins with a good, strong throw, and then Butler right over the top, and it was a bang-bang play at first. Around the horn it goes, 5, 4, 3. But Raul Gonzalez just did beat the throw. Heart pumping, you got to stay on that double play. And he did.
So runner on. Mike Piazza, the batter. Mike had been on base 7 consecutive times.
Ordinarily, Mike would have the afternoon off, but when you're in Denver, Colorado, and you have Mike Piazza with a bat in his hand, he's dangerous if he has the bat in his hand in the dugout.
1-1.
You know, it's got to be tough, Ted, for a manager like Art Howe or when Bobby Valentine had the Mets, or Tommy Lasorda, when you manage a guy like Mike Piazza, when to select the day you're going to give him off. Mike told me occasionally he'll tell the manager, you know, I don't have anything in my tank. I would rather go with that than arbitrarily sit him down. His bat's too much. It's too important.
That is foul. But I think the other factor, Fran, is that Piazza's already missed a fair number of games.
Yeah.
For various reasons. It's too early in the year to automatically say day game after a night game he's not going to play.
I think even in July and August, I would let him tell me. You know, I would ask him, how do you feel? If he said, I feel okay, I'd keep him in the lineup. But it must be very difficult for a manager. That has to be one of the hardest decisions, is to take that bat out of the lineup when he's hot.
Oliver right in on the hands.
He stays in that area, and Mike Piazza's going to hit one 9 miles here. Day game after night game, he's just getting loose right now. You saw Art Howe looking out. One of those things where you got to jolt your body to get going a day game after night game. But if he jolts it, he could hit one 9 miles here.
Well, Piazza's done it off Oliver before. He's 4 for 11 lifetime against him with 2 homers. Mets have faced Oliver. He spent a year and a half in St. Louis. There goes Gonzalez. Piazza takes a ball, and there's no throw. Well, with Charles Johnson behind the plate, you don't often see this. No throw.
Huge jump. Well, you know what? He was prudent in his decision. He decided, I can't catch him. The jump is too big. He thought he could frame that pitch and get the strike call. Now you got first base open, the left-hander on deck, so you pitch differently under these conditions.
Staying away, and Piazza fouls it.
But I agree with the aggressiveness of the Mets on that play. I think you got to put runners in motion. You got to try to make it happen, especially in this ballpark. There's no guarantees that the man at the plate's going to hit a ball a ton. So if they walk him, they walk him.
Well, it's pretty clear the Mets have a read on Oliver's move.
Yeah, that was a big jump.
And that makes running a lot easier. Piazza to right center field. Walker going back. Walker looking, and Piazza has hit another one. Into the Rockies bullpen. His 3rd of the series, 7th of the year. And that's why you don't sit Piazza down. He's too hot right now.
He's on fire, and he hits another ball to right field. That's a good sign for Mike Piazza. Not jumping at the ball. He's letting the ball come to him, and he'll tell you he wants to trust his hands, and those hands are awfully strong. Oh, he hit that ball a ton to right field. 7th home run of the season. I'm sure that Clint Turtle, for just a brief moment, is saying, why'd you throw the pitch in that area? You got a base open, but that's part of the game. And Darren Oliver challenged him.
So Clint Floyd, the batter, and the Mets get just what they needed. And no one is foolish enough to think that this will be enough, but a first inning score after last night's ending is a welcome time.
Last night's loss was a devastating loss to the Mets, so it's good that the Mets come out smoking here in the first. But how about Raul Gonzalez steals second base, and then Mike Piazza gets a pitch he can drive for a home run.
Clint Floyd, who had the big night Monday with 2 doubles and a homer. Last night, quiet, 0 for 4. Now 1 and 2 to Floyd.
And you still have to consider, you know, left-hander against a left-handed pitcher, even though Floyd is proficient against left-handed pitching. There's a guy, Ty Wigginton, triple with the bases loaded 2 nights in a row.
There's a scouting report from Hyundai. Darren Oliver. And Oliver in his career, not so much this year, but in his career, has been prone to the home run. Floyd hits one high to the right field corner. Actually a little short of the corner. And it's put away by Walker. Another 2 down. Darren Oliver was once a very prized prospect in Texas. New York baseball fans may remember Oliver pitched an absolute gem of a game in Game 3 of the 1996 playoffs, Texas and the Yankees. Oliver took a 2-1 lead into the 9th inning. The Rangers had no bullpen. The Yankees scored twice, won that game. That was Oliver's first full year as a starting pitcher, and he was 14-6 for Texas, and it's still his best year. But you look at what's amazing about that number, Fran, right there. Look at the ERA with a winning record.
I like the winning record. The ERA doesn't bother me as long as he has the W's.
Only Jason Beret and Darren Oliver have ERAs that high, over 5, with a winning record for their career.
How many guys in their career with a winning record? Something to be said about that winning record.
And Wigginton hits one right to the third baseman. Steins makes the play, inning over, but the Mets get a good start. Piazza's 3rd home run of the series in a park that he has often owned. The Mets have a 2-0 lead. I'm sure he never experienced anything like in Korea. Here's the lineup that he'll face. Same lineup the Rockies used last night, even though the Mets have a right-hander starting. Larry Walker, like so many, but probably no one has thrived hitting in this ballpark more than the 3-time National League batting champion. Here's Chris Steins in the leadoff spot.
You know, the past couple nights we've been talking about Chris Steins, and I've never seen anybody take that back foot, which you usually rotate on, and your first move is to move it almost in a walking fashion, then kick your leg up and bring it down. But he's been hot. It's funny what you do when you're in your stance. It's supposed to be your comfort zone.
Well, it's one of the great lessons you learn around baseball is that there's no one way to teach.
No, and that's very important for a youngster to learn. Get comfortable in your stance, because it really doesn't matter. That's just the starting point. Then the rest of it is you have to get your hands to go back into a hitting position. You have to have a proper stride. You have to keep your head on the ball. The stance is somewhat insignificant, except that you're comfortable being.
3-1 now to Steins. The landscape baseball is littered with players who succeed then struggle, and they eventually say, I went back and looked at what I was doing when I was going good, and that's what I decided to keep doing.
At one time, players used to adjust their stances. It could be during the course of an at-bat. It could be when you're facing a particular pitcher. Remember, Rod Carew used to do it all the time.
No leadoff walk and a fly ball here hit to Shinjo. Chris Steins out.
And let's take a look at the defense behind Jay Salt. In the infield for the Mets, you got Clark at first, Alomar at second, McEwing, who we will focus on, at short, and Wigginton at third. Floyd, Perez, and Cedeno left to right in the outfield. And Mike Piazza doing the catching this afternoon, but there's the man who's playing shortstop. By the way, Art Howe, I mentioned in spring training, I talked to Art Howe, he loves Joe McEwing. And now it seems that he's going to play him even if Ray Sanchez gets healthy. I don't blame him. He said he oozes that effervescent personality. You get some energy from him.
Well, that's the word, energy, right?
Well, it's very, very important, and he has done it. You can see why managers love him. and he's doing a nice job at shortstop. He's made some nice picks out there. And Art Howe in spring training said that's the type of player managers love, because he says, where do you want me to play, and what do you want me to do?
Jay Payton 0 for 10 in the series. This is a long run in, and Gonzalez going to get there, as Alomar did not get back on that ball well. Not sure if Alomar lost it, but didn't get back, and Gonzalez had to take it.
Once again, Gonzalez coming in making that grab. See Alomar going out. Once that outfielder calls for it, the infielder is supposed to stop.
So 2 down now, and it'll be Todd Helton. 6 home runs for Helton this year. But one last note on the shortstop story. Joe McEwing had some back spasms this morning, and Art Howe was a little concerned about that. But Joe came to him and said, look, I'll play, because Sanchez is still not able to play. And the Mets are in a situation that they, I think, have been in far too often the last year and a half. They're playing shorthanded. Art Howe today has 2 men on his bench. Jay Bell's not available. Sanchez apparently not available. And Timo Perez pulled a calf muscle last night. That's why he was taken out of the game. Timo is available today only to pinch hit.
So just put these guys out there and let them play the whole game.
CGs. But as a manager, you just can't keep playing this.
No, no, you can't. He'll have to make an adjustment if he can't get healthy players.
Right. So if a guy like Sanchez comes in every day and says he's not able to play, eventually he's just got to DL the guy. You can't keep playing shorthanded.
Here's that last pitch to Todd Helton. Hit the target.
Inside, it's 3-2. Outfield very deep here for Helton, especially Shinjo playing very deep in center. Helton goes on the ground to short, right at McEwing. And there's a good start for Jay So, a 1-2-3 first inning, and the Mets and the lead on Piazza's home run.
MSG at 11 is going live tonight with Talk of Our Town, the big issues, the top topics, plus call in and be heard.
He's ridiculous. He's a great player.
Talk of Our Town, presented by Sims. Tonight, live, it's MSG at 11. Win a 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee Freedom Edition, or one of many other cool prizes at MSGNetwork.com. Covering New York sports teams and stories 24/7 with exclusive content and insight. The grand prize winner will receive a 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee, delivering over 60 years of rugged Jeep capability at Jeep Owners Appreciation Night, when the Mets take on the Atlanta Braves. Someone will drive away from Shea with a 2004 Jeep.
Second inning in Denver, Tony Clark turns around to the right side. Got a much better batting average in his small sampling as a Met from the right side. He's hitting .286, 6 for 21.
Yeah, he seems like he handles that ball from the belt down better than that pitch that's up. And we've talked about his swing. He has a long swing, but he's been productive with that swing when he played in Detroit. Then the Tigers surprised a lot of people in baseball when they gave up on him, and he ended up with the Red Sox for 1 year.
Ground ball to third. Darren Oliver gets a second straight ground out. One away here in the Mets second as we look at veteran Bruce Fleming, who's the crew chief working behind the plate today. And Blue Notes today. See the rest of the umpires at its Culp and winners. Blue Notes on Bruce Fleming, candid.
You don't mess with Bruce. When you're on the field, he's in charge.
Not always a good thing, as we saw last night.
Well, he seemed like he was disinterested when he called Raul Gonzalez out. You see, he sets up too far behind the catcher, guesses at low pitches.
Well, that comes from someone, the Blue Notes do come from someone with
somebody who didn't like him.
First-hand knowledge, who may not be an admirer, you're right.
I'm not so sure he's guessing at low pitches.
Shinjo hitting a ground out. Well, here's what happened last night in a crucial at-bat for the Mets, with Raul Gonzalez pinch hitting in the 8th inning. This is a 3-2 pitch. Gonzalez checks his swing. He doesn't go. There's no question. On appeal to first, watch Fleming. Now, what? Have you ever seen a signal like that?
No.
Well, what does that mean?
It looked like he was too tired to put his arm up a little higher, didn't it?
I talked to Raul Gonzalez this morning. I said, was it that I didn't know last night? He goes, no. He says, I have no idea. I don't know who that guy is, but I just was running down trying to find out what that call meant. I thought he was pointing at Gonzalez. I thought he was pointing at the second base umpire to make the call.
I like that report, though. Guesses at low pitches.
Well, I think the feeling is that because framing, and this is something we've seen with Joe Brinkman also, they set up so far behind the catcher they don't get a very good look at the low pitch.
Bruce has been doing it a long, long time.
Yes, he has. Last night was sad because it was a, and I hope only momentary relapse. It was some attitude issues that Bruce has had to work on the last couple of years. One to McEwen.
You know, if you're a hitter and you see that report and it says guesses at low pitches, you know what? When the ball's down, you better be hacking them. You can't wait for somebody to guess for you.
And Oliver, good inning here. Got in the hands of McEwen. Puts him on a ground out. So 3 ground ball outs get Oliver through the Mets half of the second. 2-0 New York.
MSG. Get an exclusive inside look at the New York Mets with the latest updates, player interviews, and in-depth analysis. It's Mets Inside Pitch, Thursday night at 6 on MSG Network. This is our town.
Well, tonight, 10:30 on MSG, on all new angles presented by Beck Spears. Al Troutwig will discuss the issue of the dwindling number of African-American players in baseball. That'll be following Sports Desk tonight on MSG. Lowest number of African Americans as Preston Wilson stands in and playing the game for 4 decades. And Preston Wilson is one of 5 African American players on Colorado, which is the most on any one team in Major League Baseball this year. I think the mid-70s, the figure was at 27%. It is a staggering drop that baseball, I know, has been aware of. They have addressed and need to continue to address them even more fervently.
And baseball get a lot of competition from other sports, although, you know, and it's also tough to send scouts into areas that are dangerous to scout kids, unfortunately for the kids.
And Wilson hits a soft one, shallow left. That's going to fall from that deep set. In the outfield, Floyd unable to get there. That's a lot of times why now you're starting to see outfielders play more shallow in this ballpark earlier in games to stop that little flare that should be caught from dropping in.
The thing is, Preston Wilson can hit the ball a ton, so what happens is you have to play him deep. You have to respect his power. And when a power hitter takes a swing and gets jammed, the ball's going to, more than likely, the ball's going to drop in because you set up defensively deep for a power hitter. I'm not so sure they should bring the outfielders in this ballpark. When these guys juice that ball, it's not going to drop in front of them.
Big swing, little hit there for Wilson.
But Wilson is having he's off to a great start again this year. He's playing against the Mets like he doesn't like it.
This is Babe Ruth. To the Mets, that's what he looks like.
How about 20 home runs against the Mets? He can run, they better watch him.
Now Walker. The interesting thing about Colorado right now, Wilson is red hot, but he's providing their only power run. They've not had a home run. And you're talking about a team with Walker and Helton, and they've not had a home run from anybody other than Preston Wilson the last 13 games.
That'll change in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, but now, to be fair about that, this is the Panasonic Fast Facts shows you that. To be fair, a lot of those games are on the road.
But they
Rockies
still should,
came off a road
they should still hit home runs in a row.
Although,
Preston Wilson did.
Exactly, but as we've seen for years with the Rockies. Don Baylor talked about this ad nauseum with you. These guys get used to hitting here, and they go on the road, and it's a whole different game.
I think it psychs them out.
Absolutely. Don Baylor lived through it.
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with their ability. I think that they go on the road, they expect to struggle.
There goes Wilson. Walker missing. Piazza's throw. That's a good throw, and they got him. Piazza with a throw that harkens back to spring training. That might be the last time we've seen Mike make a throw like that.
He made a good throw over the weekend in New York against the Padres, and here's a good pitch for Mike to handle. Makes a strong throw to second base, and that's a catcher's strike to second base. But a knee high, give the infielder a chance to catch it and tag the speedy, and I mean speedy, Preston Wilson. So a real good throw by Mike Piazza.
So a strikeout throw, a double play. What a huge play that is, because Walker, one of the more difficult power hitters in the game to strike out. Now Hernandez bats with no one on.
The only reason anybody's thinking about moving Mike Piazza is because of his throwing.
There's a hit to the gap. Gonzalez cuts it off, and he'll hold Hernandez to a single.
Funny though, when Mike Piazza first joined the Mets and started hammering the baseball, first thing people started talking about was, we're going to move him to keep him strong. Here's a ball that's hit hard by Hernandez, good fastball hitter. Struck out 189 times last year, and right there he picks up a base hit to right center field. I should say 187 times. You know, when you get over 180, who cares?
So here's Charles Johnson now with 2 outs and a runner on. Rolls one wide of third, and that takes care of the inning. So that strikeout throw-out double play of Walker diffused a Rockies threat, and at the end of 2 on this Wednesday afternoon in Denver, 2-0 New York. Baseball website Mets.com, your surest way to follow the Mets wherever you are, and to shop for the official site of wearing your heart on your sleeve, cap, pullover, and lots more.
How about that? Jay So running around the batter's box.
I was going to say, he's watching Chris Steins.
How about he ran a little bit quicker.
Well, you know what I love about that swing, though? Jay So was swinging hard, and Casey hit it. And that's what you want a pitcher to do.
That's exactly right.
I mean, take a rip at it. If the bat meets the ball here, you might give it a run. We're in Milwaukee, and Jay So in batting practice hit a ball on the second deck in Miller Park, and he was just elated. I mean, I don't think he'd ever done that before.
I'm not so sure that the manager likes it, but the pitchers do have that batting practice where everybody tries to hit the ball over the wall, except the St. Louis Cardinals. They're told to hit the ball up the middle and the other way. Look at that. He's not going to cheat himself.
And I agree with you, particularly in situations with men on base.
Well, the one thing, you know, they don't take that much batting practice, so it's something that they should really concentrate on in BP. Hit that ball the other way, because the ball is out over the plate, usually the pitcher, so give it a shot. And you can help yourself out. Look at what Tom Glavine has done for himself throughout his career. Every aspect of his game, he has worked on.
But I like, now, you know, certain guys are not, no matter how much work, certain pitchers just aren't going to be good hitters.
You know, most of the guys, as you know, Ted, most of the guys as amateur players swung the bat pretty well. Except
now, in today's day and age, they don't hit. I mean, the DH is in every level of the game.
Yeah. Then you have the aluminum bats.
I wonder, I'm not sure how much Jay So ever hit in Korea where they use the DH all the time. So as a result, I guess my point is, if you're leading off an inning and the guy's not a great hitter, I don't mind him taking a rip. Come out of your shoes once.
Oh, I agree.
See if you put a charge in the ball. Now he's doing a good job here, making Oliver at least throw some pitches.
He is really swinging from his heels, as they say. Take a look at this swing. Look at the leg kick. He has a higher leg kick as a hitter than he does as a pitcher.
That's right. 10th pitch of the at-bat, and it's ball 4. How about that? Well, that is helping yourself.
That is helping yourself. He leads off the inning, fouled off a lot of pitches. That was his strong suit. And then he worked himself onto first base with a walk.
Now Alomar, who walked in the first inning. 25th walk that Alomar has drawn this year. .25 walks. Alomar is now tied for 9th in the National League, and that is noteworthy because the Mets last year had nobody drawing walks. Tomorrow night, the Mets will face the king of walks. See Alomar's current numbers. Barry Bonds leading the league, 37 walks. double play ball. Well, it's just what Darren Oliver wanted. After the long battle with the pitcher that he lost, he gets Alomar to hit with a 6-4-3.
Tailor-made. Hernandez couldn't have asked for a softer hop to play the ball, and then he made a perfect flip to Butler. Butler with a strike to first base. Here's Jay So going in hard at second base. You don't see many pitchers do that. In fact, you don't really see today many guys getting taken out at second base. And the guy in the Met dugout, Don Baylor, did it as good and as hard and clean as anybody who's ever played the game.
2 strikes quickly to Gonzalez. Trying to get on here. The way Piazza's swinging, the Mets don't want him leading off innings. Center field, sending Wilson back. He's got room. And indeed, it will be Piazza leading off the Mets' 4th inning. 2.5 gone by here in Denver. And it's Piazza's first inning homer. The Mets in front, 2-0. Tomorrow on MSG, 6 p.m. The weekly look at the Mets in depth with Fran Healy on Mets Inside Pitch. That'll be tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, right here on MSG Network.
Got a feature on Raul Gonzalez, how many years he spent in the minor leagues, his brief exposure in the major leagues, and also an extended interview with Don Baylor about breaking up double plays, getting hit with pitches.
There's Brent Butler leading off the 3rd inning for Colorado. Butler had a big night, 3 hits, drove in 2 runs last night, and as a result gets a chance to play again.
That's tough. You know, when you go out there, you get a couple hits, all of a sudden you're back in the land the next day and you say, I gotta get some more hits. You put extra pressure on yourself.
Cold foul.
When you're a regular player and you're out there every day, you know if you go 0 for 4 last night and you go 0 for 4 today, well, tomorrow night you're still in the lineup. So you tend to relax. And the only way you can play this game is to be totally relaxed.
And Butler hits one, the long run for Floyd. And Cliff's going to get there and make the play. Nicely done by Floyd, who's done a lot of running in the 3 games of this series, and he gets into foul ground to make that catch.
Yeah, he's been fighting or playing with that injury to his leg, and yet he runs a long way, makes the grab right near the barrier down the left field line. Well, he ran a long way for that ball for a guy who's been nursing a sore leg. And Butler said, why me?
Well, now the Mets have to be ready because Darren Oliver can hit. This guy's the son of a big league hitter. Look at that career batting average.
His dad, Bob Oliver, played a number of years in the major leagues, and he was a good player, a good hitter.
There's Oliver. Darren Oliver has the 3rd highest career batting average among active pitchers, behind only Mike Hampton and Livan Hernandez. And that was a swing that showed you why.
You can do nothing but help yourself if you learn how to swing that bat, and you're a pitcher. You come into the major leagues, and at times a manager might stay with you in a ball game where he would pull another pitcher, figuring you might be able to pick up a base hit in a more successful fashion than a pinch hitter.
And you can be a pinch hitter sometimes. If you swing like that,
oh yeah,
you get a manager gets in a jam, he can use you as a pinch hitter.
David Cone was the guy who pinched hit for the Mets. Tom Glavine is a guy who can swing that bat.
That's exactly right. And I saw Livan Hernandez get used frequently in the last few years as a pinch hitter. But anyway, it's a nice option. And if you're Art Howe and you're shorthanded like you've been in this series, you might turn to a Glavine and say, if I need you today, be ready to swing.
And it increases your value to a ball club if you don't have the credentials of a Tom Glavine on the mound. It increases your value. I'm sure Babe Ruth did some pinch hitting over the years when he was a pitcher for the Red Sox, because he might have been their best hitter.
Say another guy who's done it very well in recent years is Woody Williams.
Yes.
Bruce Bochy in San Diego used him a lot as a pinch hitter. Steins fouls it away, 2-2. Beautiful day here in Denver. I think this is the biggest crowd of the 3 days that we've been here, because it's just a gorgeous day. The outfield seats are full. They had 10 inches of snow here in Denver Friday. You can believe that.
By Monday, it was perfect.
70 degrees. 6 weeks ago, just before the regular season started, they had a snowstorm that dumped 5 feet of snow in the Denver area.
It's unbelievable.
And up there, of course, I don't know, did Keith go back up there today?
I think he's up there skiing.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Keith on skis. That must be a great sight. He's on a sled. Everybody else is on skis.
2-2 to Steins. And the pitch missing. So a full count. Rockies with the comeback win last night, 12-5 here, 6-16 on the road, which is much more in the Rocky tradition. Says play's going to be to first base here. Gets him. Oliver advances with 2 down. Now, New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by Chrysler. Drive and love. By Panasonic, ideas for life. And by your local Toyota dealer. Get the feeling, Toyota. So Jay Payton will bat with 2 outs, runner at second. Stuck on an 0 for 11 in this series. And here's a guy with a batting average over 400 in this ballpark. So let's see if the Mets can continue that 0 for. Payton's going to have an answer here and get the Rockies on the board.
And Jay Payton, with that .313 batting average, has been lighting it up here in Denver.
Fouled away.
I'm sure he's going to press against the Mets because he wants to show everybody they made a mistake. And the Mets gave him an opportunity. Unfortunately for Jay Payton, he had the injuries, and I mean serious injuries, but that he battled back from. But you knew eventually he would be able to get it together. Just how much patience you can have is somewhat debatable, especially in New York.
He was a terrific acquisition here.
Oh, yes.
There's a good pitch for a strike. You need athletic outfielders here. And what I think what the Rockies have learned the last couple of years, you really need athletic outfielders that can hit. Like Larry Walker, like Jay Payton, like Preston Wilson.
Well, he has a .324 average with runners in scoring position.
Oh, but so gets him with the high fastball. So the Mets really stopped Jay Payton so far in this series. And after 3, it stays 2-0 New York.
The Mets are back Thursday on Fox.
Aflac!
All right, the music can only mean the Aflac trivia
Jimmy, when you
question,
get a minute.
which is Ty Wigginton's triples. 5 of them, tying Larry Walker for the league lead, which Met reached the 5 triple mark in fewer games than Wigginton.
Well, the one guy that would come to mind, he was the master of the triple, was Lance Johnson, but we'll have to wait till next inning to find out who hit those triples quicker than Ty Wigginton. Wigginton now tied for the lead in the National League. But here's the big guy right here. Home run already in this game.
Fran, when they first opened up this ballpark, nobody hit here like Piazza and Karras, Dodger teammates. And here's Mike in the first inning today. Now, the last 17 games in this ballpark, Piazza had only hit 1 home run coming to last night. 2 last night, 1 so far today.
If they stay, we're talking about eventually he was going to get a pitch to drive. And This could be another one of those nights or days when he goes multi-home run game.
Now 1 ball, 1 strike. So Piazza now has hit 16 home runs in this ballpark in 168 at-bats. So you go 1 every 10 at-bats. That is a big-time ratio.
Last night was his 32nd multi-homer game of his career. Barry Bonds leads everybody with 58 multi-homer games. He ranks 5th all-time, Bonds does.
They got it in there. Piazza popped it up.
Everybody's surrounding this baby.
You know, the first year when the Rockies were here, and just think about this fact as that ball goes up in the air. I remember coming in here and played over at Mile High Stadium, and I remember the players going out the first day, and you know what they all came back in and said? Pop-ups go higher here. They stay in the air longer.
I'm sure they
Fly
do.
balls stay in the air longer here. And I'm not sure if that's scientifically accurate, but the players all felt that.
We'll look into that. Scientifically, I like things proven scientifically. And there's only one guy that can figure it out, and that's Bill Webb. So he'll figure that out for us. And we got to stay off Bruce Frommey. I didn't like that report on Bruce guessing at low pitches, but here he gets tattooed with that pitch.
Yeah, no, we don't want to see that.
Nah. I disagree with the report. I mean, somebody that wrote that report, filed that report, didn't like Bruce Frommey. You can't umpire in the major leagues as long as Bruce Frommey is umpired and be guessing at the low ball. What a great report, though. Frommey shaking it off.
1 ball, 1 strike now to Floyd. Wide to right his first time. And that's only hit so far as Piazza's first inning home run. Aaron Oliver, in the first 3 innings, doing a nice job for a guy that was out of baseball the second half of last year. Oliver had a huge contract. He was in the last year of it, went to Boston last year. The Red Sox released him in June. And he did not surface again until this spring, when he went as a non-roster player to the Rockies training camp.
Well, if you're a left-handed pitcher
and you're breathing,
yeah, stay with it, because there's a real good chance you're going to get a contract with a major league team. They're a premium. In fact, when you look at the history of left-handed pitchers, there's only 2 that have won 300 games or more. Warren Spahn and Steve Carlton. On that list of career wins for left-handers, Tom Glavine's number 5.
I was just going to say, that gives you an idea of what Tom Glavine is trying to accomplish. What he could possibly achieve. When you're a pitcher like Glavine, that's what makes last night even more painful. The team had a loss get away, and or had a win rather get away, and he had a win get away.
Ooh. And that's the most important thing. I mean, you can pitch a nice game and you walk out, you don't win, you don't lose, they pat you on the back. Well, if you wake up the next morning, you want to see that W next to your name.
Well, look at that. Oliver keeping that ball away from Wigginton. Strikes him out on 3 pitches. So the Mets have been silenced since Piazza's first inning homer. Still has him in front. Thank you, Kurt. Very sobering news when we heard before the game about the passing of Dave DeBuscher.
A very nice guy. A great athlete out of the University of Detroit, basketball, baseball player. In fact, funny story, and I used to kid Dave about it, and he would always say, you got to forget that story. I brought Harmon Killebrew to his restaurant one time, and when I introduced him, Dave DeBuscher owned a restaurant called George Martin's on 3rd Avenue one time, and when I introduced him, Dave said, you don't have to introduce us. He said, because I just saw 10 of Harmon Killebrew's longest home runs recorded, and he said, I threw 2 of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, he had whiplash from a couple, right?
So I would use that story occasionally. He told me, you know what, you got to lose that story. He was a great player.
Yes, great 2-sport athlete. Boy, his kid used to practice that jump shot from the top of the key that he mastered during the Knicks' glory years. Helton fouls it away 1-1.
Defensively, I've never seen anybody like him. I was talking to him about, he covered Connie Hawkins, one of the great basketball players of all time. I saw him just beat poor Connie Hawkins. I mean, he hammered him all over the floor. He'd go out the game, Connie Hawkins score, he'd go back in, bang him again. Oh, unbelievable.
Helton taking a run at another double there, but he pulls it foul, as you saw the Dreyfus look at the numbers. And one of the things that in this ballpark a good hitter should shine in is doubles.
And this guy shines not only in doubles, he hits for high average, hits for home runs, and he uses the whole field. The other night he came out of his slump by popping a couple balls to left field off of some tough pitches.
High drive here to right center field, and Gonzalez will have room right at the wall. And how frustrating that is in this ballpark when you hit one like that and it doesn't go.
You rarely hear it's a long drive to the outfield and he has room.
I know.
There's our Aflac trivia question. Ty Wigginton hit his 5th triple in the Mets' 39th game. Which Met reached 5 triples in fewer games?
Ah, Healy, you're so smart. You know it all, Healy. Scooter ever say that to you?
Lance Johnson told me one time he never got thrown out at third base. Trying to stretch it into a triple. Hard to believe.
That is hard to believe. There's a pop-up caught by McEwing right near second base, and the Mets got Preston Wilson out. Let's pause for a second on that one.
I know.
Okay,
really.
the Mets got Preston Wilson out. And here comes Larry Walker. You know, Larry Walker tells a story on himself. It's one of the more amazing stories talking about where a player came from, who of course grew up in Canada, grew up a hockey player. When he went to the rookie league with the Montreal Expos way back when, it's been a rookie league game. He's on first base. Guy hits a long fly ball out to the wall, deep right center field. Outfielder goes back to catch it. Walker's already rounded second. He's halfway to third. To go back to first base, he cut right across the pitcher's mound.
I love it.
He didn't know that you had to retrace.
Well, he could talk to Jay Payton, because Jay Payton didn't retouch second base.
Yeah. This was a little more glaring.
Yeah,
when they cut right across the middle of the infield, and it was just Walker having to learn a game that he was really unfamiliar with growing up in British Columbia.
He's the greatest baseball player ever to come out of Canada. Of course, Fergie Jenkins was a great pitcher.
2-2. Jim Gallagher does not let you miss anything, does he? Jim Gallagher's on top of it all. Working along with Bill Webb, Grant O'Connell, Mike Santini, and our crew here in Denver. Two and two. And Walker hammers that pitch. Might have been the same ball that he struck out on in the second inning. And he hammers that one into right field for a 2-out single.
So Larry Walker, who grew up in Canada, is making himself a big name in the United States, gets a pitch that's up. Boy, what a good swing. Hits the ball in a hole.
That one wasn't quite up as far as the one he struck out on the last time.
Jay So pitches up. When you pitch up, when you get later in the game and you lose a little bit off that fastball, then you're in the danger zone. Managers would tend to
slowly hit ball to McEwing, and he gets him at first. And Jay so far has conquered Coors Field, 4 shutout innings, and the Mets have a 2-0 lead. 2-0 lead on Mike Piazza's first inning home run. That is the only hit they have off Darren Oliver. Tony Clark and Shinjo and McEwing here in the 5th. A wild offense that we've seen here the first 2 nights, not apparent on this day. Last night, by the way, we mentioned the pitch to Clark. Doesn't make it any easier for the Mets to accept, but we mentioned how last night's game was not terribly unusual for Denver. And in fact, in Coors Field history, it was the 6th game in which a team has lost after having a 7-run lead. I think I've seen about 4 of them for some strange reason.
That was a nasty loss last night.
And I don't understand. It doesn't make it any easier for the Mets, but it does happen here. You know what's amazing, though, Fran? That's not the most games in which a team has lost a 7-run lead in a ballpark. Unbelievably, Jacobs Field in the same span has had 9 games like that. And I'm shocked to see that.
Yeah, I was surprised to look at the Elias Notes and see Jacobs Field myself. Kind of puts everything into perspective. I mean, Coors Field is a good hitter's ballpark, but so is Jacobs.
You know, watching Tony Clark since he got the opportunity when Mo Vaughn went down, maybe he's pressing to impress.
And beats that one on the ground right to Hernandez. Darren Oliver just tying up the Mets. They're not getting very many hard hit balls. As we take a look at our Tri-State Consumer Auto Insurance quote book today, and there's Clint Hurdle talking about last night's game.
Yeah, I agree with him. It was like watching a Little League game and you're a dad. You are proud of your guys. Now, was that a backhanded compliment? You're proud of the guys, but it was like watching a Little League game.
Shinjo takes a ball. I'm talking to Don Baylor this morning, and he was chuckling through the pain, saying how the game played out like so many that he had managed here, and like so many of those commandments that we talked during last night's game about, things that he learned while managing here.
He was a very popular manager here in Denver.
And you know, Grant, he's more so now than ever.
Well, they said they felt it was a mistake when they dismissed him.
Time has shown the folks here that Don was better than he was given credit for.
Yeah. Well, I guess it was a taffy pull between him and the general manager at the time, and Don didn't get the biggest part of the taffy.
Oliver strikes out Shinjo. Well, the Mets not doing anything with the bats here today. Second strikeout for Oliver.
And then last pitch to Shinjo. He likes that fastball. He gets it. He just swings right through it. So Oliver throwing the ball well. So is Jay Saul. And keep in mind, I think they'll be going to the bullpen, especially the Mets later on in that game, because Jay Saul, as I mentioned, pitches up. When you lose a little bit, that ball, you know, you get the head of that bat out there, and all of a sudden you get a little fly balls going deeper and deeper, and you don't want Jay Saul to give up any of these long home runs. It's a 2-0 ball game right now, but you want to keep Jay Saul's bat in the lineup. If you missed it, he'll show it to you again. He was ripping first time up.
1-1 now to McEwing.
And we mentioned earlier how Art Howe said Joe McEwing, even if Ray Sanchez is capable of playing, Joe McEwing's going to stay in the lineup because he brings an energy on the field that Art Howe feels is contagious for the rest of his team.
2-1.
Joe's got so much energy, he likes to step out of the batter's box.
Now it's a little bit like you have said at times too, Fran. You know, the energy's great, but you also got to bring a few hits to the team.
Oh, that's the most important thing.
And that's been the challenge for Joe. He got his bat going a little bit, but then took an over last night.
You hear that word energy, you hear the word experience, forget about it. What you need is you need production. I mean, the other stuff's nice, and it gives a manager an opportunity, whether it's Art Howe or any other manager, to say something like energy or to say experience, but got a hammer.
There, Bruce Fremming incurs the wrath of Joe McEwing, rings him up on a pitch that Joe didn't think was a strike. To the bottom of the fifth, still 2-0 Mets. McDonald's fan of the game. McDonald's, we love to see you smile.
That's a great shot right there. That young lady, we've had that camera on her between innings, and she is, look at this now, she brings her doll to the game.
Yeah, I keep waiting for her to feed the doll.
Oh, I love that shot. That is
ice cream.
That is a terrific shot. And she has been fooling around with whatever she is eating there, making sure it's very clean. She's not going to get it any place except in that cup.
Oh, I knew exactly what she was doing. Didn't you? She's picking the chocolate chips up. She didn't want the rest. She just wants the chocolate chips. But I don't blame her.
Look at the doll here. The doll's at the ballpark. Now look at her go.
Yeah, see that's.
Yeah, she's very, very meticulous. And she is not going to get any of that on anything.
Boy, her mom is going to love her. Mike Piazza, meanwhile, got stung by the foul tip and is being tended to now by the Mets trainer.
When you see a catcher down like that,
think you know where he got hit?
Exactly. It's the one part of catching you just don't ever want to think about. It hurts up here. You can take the foul tip any place, and you can deal with it, shake it off. But right there, you know what? There's no shaking it off. I can assure you. Oh,
It's just, folks, I wish you could see Fran Healy as he relates this story, because he's cringing.
well, I'm telling you.
From the memories.
Yeah, I think I've
Amazing you're not a soprano after all this.
Oh. I mean, I mentioned this before, and I'll do it delicately. The protective cup is the most important thing you can have as a catcher, and I had mine broken in half. Well, I want to tell you.
That's enough.
Oh, and
That's
you know
enough.
what? Then they took me to the hospital to get checked up, and they had a bad relationship with the hospital like a block away. They had to take me across Chicago in an ambulance as I was bouncing around. Did I tell enough?
Yeah, that's more. I, mean, I shut it out 15 seconds ago.
I hate to tell you what they were thinking about doing. I said, we're getting a second opinion. And I know nothing about medicine.
And we're going to keep getting it until I get the one I want.
That's right.
2-1 to Charles Johnson. Of course, Mike just coming back also from having stitches removed in his abdomen. We have a one-hopper to McEwen. Oh, my goodness. Watching Piazza come out of the crouch with a very painful attempt to go back up first base on that, and he did not appear enthused.
Backing up first base, now that's an interesting move. When you really truly think about it, how many times have you seen a catcher retrieve a ball behind first base and stop a runner from going to second? Rarely.
Well, I would say in this era now, with so many new ballparks with very little foul ground, the need for that seems to be.
Well, in a way, it's kind of false hustle. I can understand it occasionally when you think there's going to be a problem.
That's a fair ball. Wigginton was in a little bit. Butler pulled it right past him, and he's going for second here. And Floyd's throw, not in time. Brent Butler hustles his way to a one-out double.
He might hustle himself back into that lineup again tomorrow night. You see the manager, Clint Turtle, making a note. Talked about it earlier. Butler had a couple hits in last night's game. Got himself back in the lineup today. Here he hits the ball right down the third baseline. And he hustles all the way to second base. This is a strong throw by Cliff Floyd. But the problem was it short hopped. Alomar at second. When it short hops you, you have to do something funny to catch it. You got to bring the glove up and out. If that ball was one hop and didn't short hop him, good shot at getting a runner. Here's Butler again. Hits the ball down left field line. But when the ball is short hops an infielder, watch the movement of his glove. His concern there was catching the ball instead of tagging the runner. A true hop, one hop to second base, his concern will be touching the runner.
So now the ability of Oliver to hit plays into the game, because Oliver got a solid hit his first time up, and suddenly with a man in scoring position, J-So falls behind 2-0. Gave Oliver a little bit of his own medicine there. A good 2-0 changeup.
Yeah, you got to pitch Oliver like he is a good hitter, which he is. If you have a breaking ball and you're facing a pitcher, situation like this, throw it.
2-2.
You keep messing with that fastball, especially up in that happy zone of Oliver's. He already has one hit in his ball game. We're talking about how J-So loves to pitch up. That's his strong suit. Vern Rule looking on. See, the thing about our scouting report on Bruce Fromming, J-So doesn't have to worry about it because he doesn't like to throw those low strikes. No guessing. Oh, boy. There's Bruce.
Hit on the ground and a base hit. A hold. Butler at third. Butler had to hold because there was a chance McEwen could get to that ball, but Darren Oliver helps himself with his second hit.
And once again, he picks up a base hit to left field. Bounces over the glove of Joe McEwen. And Oliver now is on first base, so the Rockies have runners on first and third as Butler hustled over to third base. Wasn't sure about whether or not Joe McEwen was going to catch that ball. I think if it was a cleaner base hit, Sandy Alomar Sr. would have sent Butler and challenged Cliff Floyd's arm. Chris Steins in the mound back.
The Rockies have 6 hits Mets have only one. But the Mets have the lead. Has Oliver done this before, even though he spent most of his career in the American League? He can still hit it and lost his swing. Now Jay So, a guy that pitches up, Fran, has find some way here to try to get a ground ball. He needs to get out of the inning.
Well, historically, those high ball pitchers are not going to give many ground balls. They're going to get that fly ball. You don't want a long fly ball in this ballpark. See that low target.
Got a ground ball. Let's see if they can turn two. McEwing. No, Steins beat it out. And the Rockies are on the board.
And if you get a shot at Joe McEwing, he threw that ball with every ounce of strength he had. But Steins hustling down the line. Look at this. Ball hit the Alomar, who flips to McEwing, and then McEwing just threw a bullet to first base. But good hustle by Chris Steins.
That's what that play is. The Mets turned that as well as they could.
You see when the Soul was hoping for that double play, you saw Robbie Alomar with that sidearm soft flip to second base, and McEwing has tried to throw a bullet over to first.
Do you think Alomar had enough time there to spin?
Probably could have got a little bit more on the ball, but Robbie seems to be comfortable when he soft tosses with the flip. And nobody's done it better than Robbie for years. And right there, they just didn't get the runner at first base.
I'm wondering if he would have had enough time
to turn and
throw
and flip.
Because the timing of that play was perfect.
Yeah, ball wasn't hit that hard.
Right.
Ball wasn't hit that hard, and the runner had slowed down between first and second so he wouldn't be tagged. Watch this. Now watch the runner. So see Robbie Alomar flips to second.
Perfect timing, right?
Perfect. And Joe McEwing with the bullet to first just didn't get him.
I mean, sometimes don't you just say, hey, the guy hustled, he beat it out, right?
Yeah, that was good baseball. And you know what? Steins hustled right out of the box. He didn't say, I hit a ground ball at second base. He hustled from home to first and beat the throw.
So Jay Payton with a long look down at Sandy Alomar. Payton has flied to shallow right, struck out swinging. 2-1 ball game now, the fifth inning.
Gotta believe that the Rockies will attempt to steal in this situation. Steins with decent speed. Mike Piazza has already cut down Preston Wilson. But until he does it consistently, you got to wonder if teams will test it.
Here he goes, and Payton fouls it away. And that's an interesting debate that has gone on as long as baseball's been here in Denver. How much running you should do, because there's a very strong school that says you should never, ever run into an out, because the man at first base is in scoring position.
Well, if you have speed, you can usually predict speed. You can't predict swinging to the bat. And I feel that you should use every asset. Now, if he gets thrown out at second base like Preston Wilson did, then you're mad at yourself for sending him.
So it's just an interesting debate, because during the best years here, during Don Baylor's managing years, when they had the Blake Street Bombers, those guys did run. Bichette stole some bases. Yeah. Ellis Burke stole some bases.
You know, if you get you have two table setters that can run, utilize those table setters. And, you know, a great example was the Oakland A's when Bill North and Bert Campaneris were 1 and 2 hitters in that team.
Payton to right field. Gonzalez chasing. Can't get there. Now the challenge is, can he get the ball kicks along the wall, and the game will be tied. And Jay Payton, with his first hit of the series, ends up with a triple. And we are tied at 2. It was the carom along that unusual right field corner that enabled this tying run to score.
Well, Jay Payton hits the ball hard. It keeps tailing away from Raul Gonzalez. And you see where that ball hit, and then took another positive hop for the Rockies as Steins hustles all the way around to score. And Jay Payton, with great speed, goes into third base with a triple. Watch Payton go. He can run. Ball's in front of him, and he's thinking 3 bases all the way. And Payton can fly.
So he goes into third base with a stand-up triple, and Steins, who beat the throw to first base by busting out of the batter's box, goes all the way from first to home.
But you know that play, Fran, that's local knowledge. As that right field corner plays here, that plays with that kind of kick, the ball tends to hug the wall, as that carom did.
But it hit here.
Right, but I mean, but the ball, instead of caroming straight back to the outfielder, when it hits in that corner, it hugs the wall.
But then the other break was when it hit that wall and started hugging the other wall, then it hit that post.
Saying local knowledge, a guy like Larry Walker, after all, he knows that. He plays that ball that way. Raul Gonzalez, who comes here once, doesn't know that.
But you know what? The outfielder should go out and take a look at all those nooks and crannies before the game, so there's no surprises. I'm not saying he was surprised, but you got to go out there.
Rick's one and one.
I know Gary Pettis, you see him before the game hitting balls to the outfielders. He'll be behind the screen in second base working on the outfielders, and you look at Preston Wilson on deck.
So now trying to get Helton to keep this game tied. And it's 2 balls and a strike.
And they're pitching to Helton. Ordinarily, they'd be walking Helton, but Preston Wilson is playing against the Mets and playing really against the National League like his talents have been insulted when he was traded away from the Marlins.
So it's 3-1 to Helton. Now, let's see, did they call a balk?
Time was called. Bruce Fromme said, I called time.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is immediately corrected by Fremming.
So the balk was called by the third base umpire, Mike Winters. But Bruce Fromme said, get back to third. And Bruce is in complete control when he's on that field. Watch this. Time is asked for. You see that? You see Helton asked for time. Bruce gave it to him.
3-1, and there's the walk. So, like it or not, the Mets have to deal with Wilson.
And now, here's a situation where rarely do we see the Mets throw through with runners on first and third. Helton has decent speed. Preston Wilson's the batter. If you put Helton in motion, I think this time that the Mets are going to throw through because Mike Piazza's past 2 throws have been very good.
I would agree. I don't think he can concede a stolen base in the 5th inning.
The Mets have for about a year and a half. With that runner on first and third, they never threw the ball to second base, but today they might.
So Preston Wilson leading the majors with 41 RBIs. He only drove in 65 runs all last year in 510 at-bats with the Marlins.
I was told when we were in Florida, as you look at the runners, that the Marlins traded him and brought in Juan Pierre. They wanted to get speed and trade away strikeouts. They also traded away home runs, RBIs, batting average.
And it's interesting, the Rockies, looking for hitting, brought in 2 of the strikeout kings. And Wilson, who led the league in 2000, almost broke the record, and Jose Hernandez, who would have broken the record last year had he played the last 2 weeks.
One thing that's not discussed about Preston Wilson since he came to the Rockies is he's been playing great defense in center field. He can track that ball down.
Now Wilson sitting on a 2-1 count. 3-1. Jay So with very good command, was very cautious to Helton, walked him, and now has been cautious to Wilson.
Pitch is up now.
And cautiously has walked the bases loaded. And
for Larry
no
Walker,
more caution.
No, there's no more caution. And right here, you're getting Larry Walker, who's not as hot as Preston Wilson. But when the leaves turn brown, he will have good numbers. There's Jay So's number, 79 pitches. Now 27 pitches this inning, and again, Ted, we were talking about pitching up in this ballpark. So he's got the bases loaded, and this is the danger zone. Rockies with 2 runs on 7 hits. The Mets with 2 runs on 1 hit.
Walker with only 4 home runs this year. Takes ball 1. He struck out on a high fastball in the 2nd inning, then hit a high fastball into right field for a single in the 4th. Pat Strange gets the first call in the Mets bullpen. Walker, shallow center. Shinjo can't get there, and 2 runs will score. And will a 3rd run score? Here comes a man to the plate. Mets throwing the ball around the field. 3 runs have scored. Now they've got Walker trapped. Soul throws back to second. He can't get him either.
Well, the big swing helped Larry Walker. The threat of power. You're playing deep. He hit the ball off the bat with a complete home run swing. Shinjo couldn't get to it. 2 runs scored. The ball was thrown away. Another run came in. Watch the runners. From 3rd, they score. From 2nd, no-brainer. Now the ball is thrown away. And they're able to pick up another run as Preston Wilson scores. Larry Walker goes to second base. He rounds it, and he challenges Jay So. This is tough. You're so far away. Then he makes the throw, and he throws the ball offline. So Larry Walker with the big swing helped out. He's looking around second base now. He's faking. If So threw immediately to second, Walker's going to 3rd, and they don't get him. Because that ball had to be thrown from behind home plate to second base. Walker's got good speed. You throw that ball, and he anticipates correctly. He's going to 3rd.
Now strike to Hernandez, 1-1. So it'll be a single for Walker, 2 RBIs. There'll be an error, I assume, on Shinjo.
I'll tell you what, Shinjo, he was playing deep, and that's how you have to play in his ballpark. You just can't give in to a guy like Larry Walker. He's going to drive the ball.
I'll tell you, the most telling replay in the...
Is he hurt? The groin area?
Interesting to see at the end of the inning. But the most telling replay on all of that sequence was Todd Help running from second base. Because the way Todd Help was running, he thought that ball was going to be caught.
Yeah.
He thought that was going to be the 3rd out of the inning.
And of course, as we mentioned, everybody was playing deep for Larry Walker. And again, you got Larry Walker on second base, and he's nursing something. He might leave this ball game.
And Hernandez taps one back to the mound. So the Mets, denied an inning-ending double play, wind up having to cost them in a huge way. A 5-run 5th for Colorado.
In 1990.